Good meal.
Yeah.
You know, North Chelmsford bean supper.
I like the
Yeah,
easy
Bob said it
test.
was good. He's got a bias.
Okay, let's get started here. It's Tuesday, November 14th. This is the Chelmsford Conservation Commission meeting. My name is Carl Bischoff. I'm the chair of the Chelmsford Conservation Commission. We just had a previous meeting a moment ago, so we were next door, so that's why we're 15 minutes later than our normal 7 o'clock starting time. So this meeting is televised, so just be aware of that in case you want to just be careful what you're saying. So certificate of compliance in our first open session issue is 129-0923. This is the National Grid.
I like to have it in front of me.
This is the National Grid certificate of compliance,
Yes, I'll
David?
just give a quick update on that. Commission members recall that when this matter was last on the agenda to issue the certificate of compliance, the commission took no action because there were some construction materials, I mean, quite a bit actually, in the buffer zone that National Grid claimed were unrelated to this project, but the commission wanted that addressed before voting to issue the COC. So subsequent to that, National Grid told me that they would get it out of the buffer zone. I expected I would have heard something to that effect by tonight, but I haven't. So I recommend the commission just pass over this.
Okay.
Pending the positive action.
So what would the next step be?
That-
If we pass over, they don't get it.
Right.
They have to resubmit?
Well, no, they first have to let me know that they removed that stuff out of the buffer zone.
Right, right.
So, no action.
Yeah, no action. We just move on. Okay. Next one is another certificate of compliance, 129-0920 at 127 Parker Road, AKA
144 Acton Road.
144 Acton Road.
Don't know
So,
why the
another
difference.
one. Can you give us a,
Sure, so this was a new breezeway and garage in the buffer zone. I actually have here an itemization of, so a new building, guess a driveway. Here's the as-built plan. The only thing I noticed was that that's on the as-built plan that was not on the approved plan was this new patio back here. And let me see, this line, I believe, is the 50-foot, the 50-foot setback from wetlands. So there's a patio that was not on the approved plan, and there's some these dots are astroturf, fake sod, which was not on the approved plans either. So
so it's not real sod, it's fake
Right.
plastic.
right. So Mr. O'Hara, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes. So he is.
Okay.
So Mark O'Hara is here representing the applicant in this. So did you do the work, Mark?
I have only been involved for the portion of the certificate of compliance, so I was not involved with the original notice of intent.
Okay. I guess I'll just say, the new patio, it is outside the 50-foot no disturb. What I don't know is whether the AstroTurf is pervious or not.
Yeah, it probably is.
I don't know what happens when rain falls on it.
Probably is, right?
I would think if it is true AstroTurf.
Football fields are
Yeah.
pervious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be some,
I don't
yeah,
have a problem with that.
yeah. It'll keep vegetation from coming up in that area, yeah.
Well, yeah, but the question is, your question, David, if I read you correctly, your question is whether it's permeable?
Right,
Whether water can flow through it, yeah.
right. I mean,
If it can't, what's the size, square footage, 350?
410.
410.
So it'll run off of it if it's not.
Yeah.
And I saw no evidence of erosion due to it when I was out there on the site visit.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
outside of the 50-foot. I don't have a problem with
Right,
it.
no.
I would
Yeah.
vote to recommend it.
I would too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do we have to,
I move.
I guess we vote, yeah.
I move we
Motion.
issue a certificate of compliance for 125 Parker Road.
127.
127, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Second.
Moved by Dave, second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, none. Okay, we'll sign that and get that issued. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is, okay, so this one's Todd Arsenal, a proposed addition of second floor at 42 Westview Avenue. So David, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just introduce it. And
Legal notice? Legal notice?
no, this is just an informal discussion.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So, and Todd, please correct me if I say anything wrong. So I think the proposal is to put a second floor, right? A second story on an existing, I guess you'd
David.
call it cottage.
Closer, just a little closer, thank you.
So when I first discussed this with you, you said that I guess so the foundation has to be raised, or what?
So what happens is the structure, the foundation is not,
Put him over there.
Yeah, we should have him, can you come up to the podium, please, and just give your name and address, please?
sure, my name's Todd Ashnault. I'm here on behalf of Paul and Colleen Sign and the property owners of 42 Westview on Hart Pond. That's the issue, is the pond. So what it is, it's only a block foundation. Structurally, it's not sound to put the new building with the half a second story on top. So the proposed plan came with Bigfoot sonotubes. And then when David came to the site, he says, of course, now we're gonna file an intent, so on and so forth. Go through the bureaucratic red tape. So he said, what can we do to maybe not be so evasive? So we came up with the plan to do the helical piles instead of the Bigfoot with an excavator digging, so on and so forth. Maybe we wouldn't have to file the intent and go through all that. Keep it with the helical piles. Excuse me.
Helical, how do you spell that? Sorry.
Helical? H-E-L-I-C-A-L.
AL.
Okay, I've just never heard of them, sorry.
So
There's little or no disturbance to those.
There isn't. There is absolutely not. It's a little four-wheeled machine.
Putting in with a pneumatic hammer or your drill.
It's a little four-wheeled machine, no bigger than your desk here.
right.
And it just drills the piling down and away you go. Done. Simple.
and what kind of equipment does that use?
It's just, like I said, just a little four-wheeled hydraulic-driven machine. No bigger than that, your desk you're sitting in front of right there.
How many you want to put in?
There's a total of 13, maybe 14. We're on the fence with the 14th one, but 5 of them would be inside the foundation for a center wall, inside the house.
The existing block wall is going to stay?
Most of it. What we're going to do is we're going to take out sections of each block where they need to be. They only need to be a 16-inch wide swath,
Yeah.
so we can get in there and drill a hole and go in. And then I'll pour concrete back around that so we can fill that back in afterwards to face off the.
You're only pulling the block down a grade.
Yeah, we know we got to get to do the footing. The footing's only 6 or 8 inches deep. We get through that, then they drill their piles down.
So what kind of equipment is used to pour the concrete?
Shovel and a wheelbarrow.
So it's done by hand?
Yep.
Essentially?
Yep.
There's also I guess a deck that's planned in the back, or that I saw on the plans.
There is a deck, but that doesn't come till later.
Okay, so I think there definitely needs to be a filing for the deck, because the deck is in between the back of the house and the water, and the back of the house is probably, 15 feet away from the water.
Maybe 15, 18 feet.
So I think that there definitely needs to be a filing for the deck. Whether or not there should be a filing for the helical, the installation of the helical piles. I mean, there's
This is
going to
15
be
feet from the water?
the back of the house. Yeah.
I think there should be. Everything else we've seen on Hart Pond that close to the water, we want to understand what's going on between the construction activity and the pond.
You're saying for all of this, not
Yeah,
just the deck?
any activity,
Not just the deck,
right.
yeah. I'm inclined to say so as well. This is very close, and we've been, I don't want to say strict, but we're pretty strict on Hart Pond. I'm not sure
You
what
want
you
them to
guys.
file it as notice of intent?
What's that?
Yeah,
You want them to file it as
Yeah.
notice of intent?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
yeah,
For the
Comments?
helical piles or that and the
everything,
deck?
any
Full
activity.
project?
Any
It's
disturbance?
15
The
feet from the
deck is
water.
proposed.
No, I
We
got it, but
We
are we
can't
looking,
rule
are we
on
asking
that.
for the whole project or just
Yeah.
this first piece?
Yeah,
I
yeah, the
am.
whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know if we're voting, but Chris, what are your thoughts? Put you on the spot here.
Well, I mean, it's Hart Pond, so I know we've been strict with everybody else that's come in front of us. Anything close to the pond,
Yeah.
But you're not just asking for that, because what we've always done prior is you have a plot plan. You want to go back and do a plot plan to further this to the next meeting. I mean, you're not going to decide on it, because we don't have the information we normally require.
Well, there is a plot plan. The
We've
plot
gone
plan.
right up to the point where the building department asked us for a check. We thought we were all set with a building permit until we wrote them a check, and then they said we need to have David come out and look. That's when we ran into this. Now all of a sudden we need to maybe file, maybe we shouldn't. That's when we decided not to file. Maybe we could use the helicals, so we didn't have to file and we can move on with this permit. It's been since August.
I don't know, it's up to you guys. I don't have a problem with them, but I think it's okay to go ahead with them. There's no disturbance, so, but I understand your reasoning too.
Yeah. Bill?
Is the deck part of this project you're doing?
Not yet.
There's
mean,
a deck, there's a deck on it now.
Yeah.
It's just a landing because there's a sliding glass door on the back. So we need to put a set of stairs or something there to get them out the back door. They're not sure if they're gonna go with a patio versus a deck versus right now. But we do need to get them a set of stairs out the back door at some point, but temporary until we need to do what we need to do to get it done.
So David, what are the exact numbers? I'm looking at a map here, a little hard to tell the scale. I mean, this is within our 50-foot no disturb
Yeah, it
space?
could be within
The helicals are, and then the deck replacement definitely would be?
That's a wetland.
Oh, yes,
not-
I mean,
it's not more than
it's
15
it's in the 25-foot no
this
no disturb.
No disturb zone?
But of course, it does have some exemptions because it's an existing structure.
We're not changing the footprint of anything.
Right, so would the exemptions apply to the helical piles and not the deck, would you think? Or how would that, how do you feel?
I think the exemption applies to the addition of the second floor. The regulations, the bylaw and the regulations do say, though, that even if something is exempt, that the commission can still require a filing to, look at the details of,
We have
the actual
required
work.
filings on every application that abuts Hart Pond.
Right.
Why is this one any
Yeah,
different?
I'm,
There's
We have to
no
be
footprint
consistent.
change.
yeah.
Right.
Typically, we rely on a footprint change, because that would
Okay, but
trigger a filing.
We've had people put second stories on.
But here we're actually literally changing the footprint, aren't we? Aren't we
No,
changing,
not
aren't
by
we
any means.
changing what's the pylon, the footing? We're taking the footing out and putting a new pylon in?
Well,
new footing.
technically, there are no footings.
It's just sitting on the ground.
It's sitting on two 18-inch, two cement blocks, three cement blocks, excuse me.
So, yeah, I mean,
They need this for the structural integrity
Exactly.
of the building.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I'm inclined to say we're pretty strict on Hart Pond. I think it's the right thing.
If we're gonna file, I'd just assume bring an excavator in there and dig it out and do what we gotta do to get it right,
Right,
instead of
yeah.
going through this helical.
Yeah,
Because sooner or later, you're probably gonna do that.
Well, I don't have to if we can
No,
get the
but
helicals
I
in.
said sooner or later.
No, this is,
Someone will do it.
Those are permanent.
this is,
No, they're permanent.
No, I mean to do other work around the house.
No, you're surmising that.
Hey, it's waterfront.
that means, yeah. So
We don't have to close the hearing, do we?
there's no hearing.
Well, it's not hearing. You don't even have to take a vote. This is
I
to
move that we
advise.
require the applicant for 42 Westview Ave submit a notice of intent.
So Dave, I guess the thing we could do short of that is have them come in with a request for determination, come in with the plans. It's an abbreviated process. He comes in, present the plans, and we can take a vote on whether we want to approve it through that process. If in fact there's like no impact and it's really not changing anything, or he goes through the full.
That's a little simpler.
Isn't that what I'm doing here this evening? I have a set of plans, we've been through this, it's been on the,
You
been on
have
the
to-
building
Not
department's
doing it
desk
under
for
a
months.
request for determination.
No.
Yeah, you have to
Because
do
we
it.
gotta do it legal. I mean, we
Yeah.
gotta, it's not, this is just a consultation, not
Yeah.
legal.
Yeah.
Legal notice, all.
Is there a second on my vote, my motion?
Second.
And that's with a RDA?
No.
No, with an
Okay,
NOI,
second
with an
notice.
There's
NOI.
a second.
Okay,
Chris
so,
is gonna argue, gonna want to vote it
Any
down and
discussion?
then submit a motion for an RDA, right? I think.
sure. So, do you want, how does that work?
Yes.
Well-
Ask if there's
Yeah.
any more discussion
Any-
on
yeah,
my
all right.
vote.
Yeah, any more discussion on Dave's?
Yeah, so he's got a motion, we got a second, any discussion, no, right? So then
And then we vote,
vote on all those in
vote on
favor.
my motion. If
Okay.
it fails, then Chris can bring his up.
So discussion, you know what I'm gonna say. I feel we ought to follow our rules. They're the law, they're the town bylaws. There's nothing unusual here.
Well, it's,
Well, are we gonna follow our own regs or not?
It's activity within 50 feet. Actually, we have a no disturb law, no disturbance within 25 feet. This is within 15. That's why it should
Right.
be under a notice of intent with a request to waive our 25-foot no disturb. Right? That's what our regulations are. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Okay, any more discussion?
Yes, actually.
I don't think you
Well,
can
yeah,
discuss
you-
our vote.
Yeah, this isn't discussion for you.
I
This is
understand.
discussion for us. Okay, so, all in favor? I'm gonna vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Chris, Mark, and John. The motion passes, so we are,
No, fails.
no, the four.
4-3.
Was it 4? Okay.
You, me,
I'm
Bill,
sorry, I
and-
missed that one.
and-
All right, good.
The middle, yeah.
So then the applicant, I'm sorry,
Right, so the motion passes to require
notice of intent.
an NOI.
Yes. Good.
Notice of intent.
Yep.
Start with the notice of intent.
Yep.
Okay, if I could ask a question.
That's it.
The building permit process, when I turn an application in, how come it took so long to come to Conservation's desk?
Yeah,
We ask that question a lot ourselves.
Somebody dropped the ball.
yeah, usually it's pretty quick.
It's that pile of papers on the table down on the planning board.
It's a big drop. This has been since August.
Oh, I've been doing construction for 40 years in town, I know. I'm not saying, that's another thing.
Well, when did we do the site visit?
Let's go.
You were out there probably a month and a half ago, at least maybe 2 months.
So, 'cause I thought I was out around August.
No, it was only a couple months ago, because then that's
Well,
when we decided we just get the engineer involved.
November,
It took
so
me,
September, August, but we need to move on. We have other, thank you very much. Okay, next thing, I don't see Chris Arsenal, so I don't think Chris LaValle, I don't think we're doing a planning board since we already had that. Do we want to take the vote on, I think, let's take that vote on
Yeah, sure.
270 Bill Ricker Road?
You mean continuing the
Right.
subcommittee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I said in there, and I think the subcommittee should be continued until there is a vote of the Conservation Commission on the application, or until the Conservation Commission does not require any additional information. One or the other.
is that the motion?
Yes.
Did you get that, Vivian?
Somewhat.
Okay, so that's the
The motion
motion.
is that we continue the Conservation Commission participation in the subcommittee until the Conservation Commission votes on the application of 270 Boston, 270? Yeah, 270 Boston
Bill
Road.
Ricker, Bill Ricker.
Bill Ricker Road, or until there is no need for additional information by the Conservation Commission.
Second.
So motion by Dave, second by Bill. Any further discussion?
So, yeah.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure the thing doesn't have a life of its own. I agree with doing it the way what you're doing, but I don't want to see it have a life of its own and we start
You heard it.
solving, we start designing the project or
Right.
solving PFAS problems
You-
that
you-
don't have anything to do with
You heard what
approving the
planning
building.
board said tonight.
What?
It will continue, from their perspective.
Yeah, that's.
They want it to continue.
They want discussion about the town process to continue.
Yeah, that's
not-
different. That's separate.
That's
That's
separate. I'm willing to entertain that separately, but Bill's right.
Oh, I agree.
We-
I said it.
I don't want
said
that
it.
becoming part of this.
That's
Yeah.
why
No,
I
I
said
agree.
this
I agree.
subcommittee ceases to exist once we
Right.
vote on
Right.
Bill Ricker Road.
I don't want to see the applicant paying for
Right.
putting together some design that's gonna go for any project that has a contamination
right.
on it, and they're paying for because they're the first guy in when this is happening. So, I think
Paying for-
this,
Paying for what? I'm sorry.
I don't wanna see the applicant paying for learning
Oh, a
a
process, right.
process
Oh.
that's gonna be applied to other projects down the road.
Right.
Depending if they have contamination
Yeah,
or
no, I
not.
agree with that.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's gonna depend on, your scope stays very tight
Right.
applies to this project. So, I
Right.
think right now, you're looking at the soils and the water
that's
contamination,
it.
right?
Well, and on the stormwater system.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's,
Right,
once you get those
correct,
answers and you're happy
Correct.
with it, we can vote
correct.
Yep.
on this project. And I
Right.
think, I don't wanna see it create a life of its own and just
No,
Yeah.
but
go
Billy,
on.
but
And I don't think you're doing that. I'm
Well,
not
Billy,
saying you're doing
yeah.
that.
what is done on this project will be lifted from this project, and some pieces of it can be used on other projects.
Right.
Right.
As
In
the-
that sense,
That's
that
fine.
might benefit the next applicant.
Right,
Yeah.
but I don't wanna see this thing
Yeah, agree.
go beyond what
Right.
it needs to
Right.
approve or deny the project.
Good
Right,
point.
and I'd like to just make a personal comment. This is a ton of work. I don't want to
No.
keep doing this.
No.
No.
And I think you're
This
doing a good
stuff's not
job.
easy, but we are concerned about reaching an endpoint ASAP.
Right, and we have to get to the point where we don't need a subcommittee
Every
Yeah.
time.
every
Oh,
time
no,
this
no.
comes up, because I agree with John on that. I don't like these subcommittees because the whole board isn't involved, and we
Right.
should all be involved in everything. But, so I don't wanna see that become a norm,
I
Right.
agree.
where we
I
have
agree.
subcommittees for
Right.
every.
On the other
project.
hand, you can sit in on every one of these subcommittee
You're welcome to
meetings.
come.
No, I know that. I don't want to, though.
All right, thank you. Chris, you have
Well,
another
I mean,
comment?
I'd still like to have kind of a end date that we have out there. Like, I'm thinking the first week in January for our first.
Independent of of the review of the application?
Yeah, I kind of like having that, enabling the subcommittee from our perspective to go on through our first Concom meeting in January. And then if we want to keep it going after that, we take a vote to
I
keep it
think it
going.
should be kept going on an as-needed basis, not just by date.
Yeah, but I just think it's going to kind of keep going on and on perhaps.
Not if
we
it's
go
not
indefinite.
needed, it shouldn't.
That's got 'em.
Well, I think
You know it is.
from what you guys, synthesize what you both just said is how I feel. We don't want to be in a position of trying to design the plans.
Right.
Absolutely not.
So if let's cut to the chase. If the two licensed site professionals don't agree on Friday, my personal view is we've told the applicant what we're looking for. The risk is on them to come up with a design that either meets our requirements or they can take that risk that we won't like their design. That's my view, not that we work with them
Right.
every couple of
Right.
weeks on the
No,
design. That's the
and that's what
commitment.
Billy's
Exactly.
saying.
Exactly.
Right,
They should take it to us as a board.
that's right. Agreed.
Come in with the plan, show it to us, us.
Yeah, and
No
that's,
subcommittee, no nothing. I'm dead set
That's why we're
against it.
getting dangerously close to designing
my
a
opinion.
system, or designing things for these
we're
people.
not going there.
But we are getting close to it, though. We're approving stuff that, well, we liked that.
We're talking here about what we're talking about Friday is the sampling plan for the soil. That's just, they make a recommendation and our peer reviewer,
But isn't that up to the engineers to make that decision?
and that's
What-
what we're doing.
Yeah, what he's saying is, in that sampling example, if we don't like their sampling proposal, we're not supposed to go back to them and say, you should do this.
Correct.
All we should say is, we don't like the sampling proposal.
That's a
Go
great way to look at
go
it.
rethink it.
Other than Peter, we're all laymen. We don't know anything about that stuff.
And I'm not
But
the
I didn't hear them
expert.
say that that's what you guys are gonna do. You're not gonna tell them how to sample.
Of course not. No, that's what our peer review is doing. That's why the peer review and the peer review,
right.
and the two LSPs are talking.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so we have a motion,
Right.
and I think I heard a second. Who was the second? Bill. And any further discussion? I think that's it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, we had 5-2 on, I think, did I get that right? You were in favor? Yeah, okay. All right, 5-2, it passed. So that means,
It goes until the Conservation Commission acts on 270,
Yeah.
or until we decide we don't need any more information.
that we have all we
We're
need.
just gonna be discussing. Right.
Okay. Now we have to vote to continue the hearing. No, we did that in the other room.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
Oh, I love this.
I think we're good.
To do this 8 hours a day.
Where are we on the map here? All right, let's keep going. Thank you, Casey. First one on our regulatory, well, that was our first one on our regulatory. Next one is the Town of Chelmsford, continued, and it wants to continue again until November 28th.
Do we know
This is
why?
the 48 Central Square. This is the Beaver Brook.
Do we know why they wanna keep continuing?
Partly because Trevor couldn't make it tonight, but
Oh,
he's
that's
also
a good
trying
re-
to.
no, that's a good reason.
He's also trying to get some comments out of DEP. You know,
Oh, so
because-
we may not see him forever.
Maybe not. You know, at some point, I think you should take it as a tacit approval. You know,
But you know DEP doesn't act that way.
I think what's supposed to happen, since it is a registered hazardous waste site with DEP, I think we're supposed to engage an LSP to do a very streamlined version of everything we just talked about. I think that's what the regs say, I'm not positive, but we've made that recommendation a number
DEP
of
should
times.
tell us that, right?
We've made that recommendation a number of times.
So DEP should tell us to do it.
Central
No,
Square?
no, there's no DEP. The DEP has outsourced the whole cleanup program to licensed site professionals. They do occasional audit oversight, but not of everything. They're not
Then why don't
reviewing
we ask-
everything.
Why don't we ask David to find the answer to that question?
the wetlands division is not going to.
Is it wetlands they're getting hung up on, or the
No, it's wetlands that has to issue the file number
What
and
are we
and
talking
any
about?
comments.
pocket park behind Oddfellows?
So yeah, no.
That's contaminated?
The
Yeah,
area.
It's the same thing as
the brook.
270.
Area, the parking
Sure.
area.
Exactly the
Sure it
same
is. Look at
story.
all the gasoline that came out of the mobile station.
No, it's PFAS.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
it's
but
gasoline byproducts too.
And and the care cleaners. Those two things
Right.
dumped a ton of stuff in that stream
When you look
30
up,
years ago.
Yeah.
when you look up the current plume maps of what's discharging into that stream from 4 or 5 sites around it, it's
You know,
it's
the
getting-
wetlands division isn't going to get into that. You know, if DEP has any concerns, if they have any comments, they'll issue them, you know,
All right,
at some point.
So let's,
Good.
I'll take a motion to
When does he want to continue?
28th of
I
November.
move we continue the hearing on Town of Chelmsford, 48 Central Square until
November 28th.
November 28th.
So moved by Dave, second John. All in favor? Any further discussion? No. All
Aye.
in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, next one. Notice of intent. Martha McClure, 10 Cross Street. Pat Flaherty here to represent the
Got an easy one
applicant.
for a change with Pat.
Yeah, I know. It's good to see how we, legal notice.
Guy that
Legal
knows what
notice.
the heck he's doing.
David, do we have a legal notice?
It's up on the screen, yes.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Commission will conduct a public hearing here in Room 204 at the town offices on Tuesday, November 14, 2023, to consider the notice of intent filed by property owner Martha McClure for proposed work within bordering land subject to flooding and 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 10 Cross Street, further identified as Assessors Map 4/Block 10/Lot 1. The project entails construction of a two-family dwelling unit, associated driveway access, and stormwater management infrastructure, installation of utilities, grading, and landscaping. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The applicant is setting up his presentation, and it's a high-tech,
Yeah, but we have a good engineer on the case.
we have background music in the meantime. No. All right, let's describe, let's have you
So we,
describe what we
Miss
got.
Martha McClure is here with us tonight, and this is her project at 10 Cross Street, which is in North Chelmsford, and a few blocks away from Middlesex Road. And it's, to me, it's a relatively simple project. Can you hear me without this? It's a
No.
relatively simple project. The lot isn't big, it's a little over 17,000 square feet. This is the original house, it's an old house, and they would like to put in another unit with a couple of garages. And everything would be hunky-dory on this, except that it's in the floodplain. So we have to do compensatory storage. So whatever we fill, we have to take out at least that much in other places. So right now, there's 2 garages here, which will have concrete foundations. They're gonna take up some space. And then we have a building over here that's gonna be on piers. They'll probably just be 1.5 feet or 2 feet out of the ground. They're the regular concrete piers that somebody was talking about a little while ago. And I figured 9, and that was, I don't think it's gonna take 9, and I figured 18-inch piers. I think they're gonna be 9-inch piers, but just wanted to make sure. We're gonna put in some Caltech chambers to take care of the stormwater from the new construction. And there are, the way this floodplain thing works is, if you take out, say, between elevation 102 and 103, you have to compensate in elevation 102 and 103. So I'm proposing to take some material out here, about 6 inches of material, and then another small amount out here, which I can't even read now.
100
100 cubic
100,
feet,
right.
which is not so big. I think that's like close to 4 yards. A couple of pickup truck loads. And that will compensate, more than compensate for what we're gonna
So
fill.
it's 700 cubic feet in total. 600 in the back and 100 in the front? Is that what it was?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. I have some better numbers there on the plan, but,
Those are the numbers on the plan.
Yep.
okay. So we like to take out a little bit more. I'd like to take out more than what we anticipate needing, just in case there's a problem on the site. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to take out an extra 100 cubic feet or so, 75 to 100. But more can come out if we run into any problems. So it's, there is one other thing. There's this line over here is a 100-foot wetland buffer. So this would have to come before you for something.
Just within our jurisdiction, that's all, Pat.
Yeah. And we're going to do a little bit of work in here, but in in the 90 to 100-foot range. We're going to be doing some work in there. The back of the site going over, this is a big apartment house in the back here. I don't know if you remember it.
Finnegan built it.
That's right, a long time ago.
Yeah, we were here then.
Yeah.
Dave, you and I were here back then for that.
So this has always been kept wooded since they worked there. So we're gonna put a silt fence up here. And I don't know yet, but I imagine we're gonna have a regular wooden fence there eventually, but that's not in my purview. So I think it's pretty straightforward.
So really, the only issue is compensatory flood storage.
Yes, that's all there is, yeah.
Dave, and is that okay with you, what he's got laid out?
Yes, I did have a couple of comments and questions.
Pat, are you done?
I'm trying to anticipate here. And cut them off at the
Pat,
knees.
you don't make mistakes.
And, no, go right ahead. Go right
So,
ahead.
Pat, could you please just point out the floodplain elevation?
Oh, excuse me. The floodplain elevation is elevation 104.
Could
And
you
that's
just point it out on the plan?
There's only the only 104 contours is in this area here.
So,
Most of the site is below the 104 contour.
okay, so I see the could you point out the 103?
And the 103 is up in here, out on the street.
And down in the corner.
Yes.
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 So the sill of the house is above 104. This house might be older than me, so it's been there a long time. And, no one is, I don't see any evidence of scour or anything, so I think the water comes in across Middlesex, further down, and backs in all around when there's a real flood.
But you
So-
said the footing of the proposed unit is how high off the existing?
It's gonna be 104 foot 2 inches.
Okay, and the garage is open.
The garage is gonna be open.
So if there's
It's gonna be
flooding,
able to take water,
if the
actually.
flooding is, there's enough coverage under the new building, and there's enough coverage in the proposed parking units.
Yes.
So is this a two-family that's being
It's
proposed?
gonna be a two-family.
Oh, okay. That's
One
what, that's,
family here and another family here, so it's an addition of a one family.
oh, but so then why do you need two garages for a one-family?
Well, they don't have a garage in there.
Oh, okay, so one of the garages is for the existing.
There was a garage there, we took it down, it's
Okay.
dilapidated.
Okay.
Everybody has more than one car.
So we have our peer reviewer here as well, Nick Shaw from CEI. Are you there, Nick?
Yep, I'm here.
So in reading, we'll just sort of following the both the email correspondence and reading your peer review letter. It looks like was there some issue with the peers?
Yeah, it was just like basically trying to back into his calcs, and then I kind of corresponded with him to make sure, like, you know, his calcs and numbers were correct, and that's when he provided the backup documentation. And just to make sure that everything, you know, that's being covered with the compensatory storage, there's not more fill than there is cut, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So
And we came to the conclusion that he is providing enough compensatory storage, actually even more than what's necessary, like he iterated previously.
okay, so the bottom line is that the project complies with the performance standards for bordering land subject to flooding.
Yep, that's correct. There was just a little back and forth, just trying to understand some of the numbers he came up with, but we were able to figure that out.
Oh, okay.
Any questions from the commission, Chris?
No, I mean, this looks good, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad that that we're able to work this out kind of ahead of time, have that advanced dialogue with the two engineers, so, no, looks good to me.
Mark?
In Pat, we trust.
Oh.
Wow.
Ooh. Dave?
Why did we hire a peer reviewer for this project?
Well, I mean, it's
David or Gene McLaughlin.
Excuse me. Hello?
I mean, it was for the bordering land subject to flooding. You know, that there can be some nuances there.
I'm here in
So-
the meeting.
Even if it was just for a single-family house, I think it's,
I'll be home, okay?
you know, I mean, when you're dealing with floodplain and potential flooding, I mean, I think important issues.
Just
Okay.
turn it off.
Okay.
It's at
Bill?
1 second. Just turn it off.
How
right,
much
I'm
does the peer review add to the cost, just to the project?
It was a couple thousand.
Couple thousand? See, I hate to see a homeowner have to pay a couple $1,000s more for a peer review that on a project, I don't see the issue with this project that it would be, that it require that. So, I don't agree with getting a peer review on this, but we've done it, so. On a bigger project, or a commercial project, or something like that, I can see it, but to subject someone to $2,000 for a peer review for something that it's pretty cut and dry. I don't agree with that.
Okay. Any other questions, or?
Nope.
Okay. Peter?
Question, is that big old tree still in the backyard that shows up on the map, and can you save it, or is that where you have to
In the backyard?
dig? Is it still there?
Oh, there's,
Well, say backyard, I think it's on your map.
on Hope Street?
Yeah, no,
Excuse me, on Cross Street?
I mean, maybe it's not there anymore. I'm looking at an aerial photo from 2 years ago. It's on Hope Street?
Oh, this one.
Oh, that's not where you're digging.
No. There was a really nice one up here, maybe, that's gone. Town took down.
Yeah, okay.
5 footer. But that big tree near your old garage is still there, Martha?
Yes.
Still there, yeah. There's one.
Well, the aerial photo shows one right about where your green line hits the E of Cross Street. Is that still there?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just curious if there was any way to save it if it was still there, but maybe that's the one that's gone.
Yeah, that's gone.
Okay, forget my question. Thank you.
Can't save it.
John?
No, I think Pat's covered everything. It's fine.
Okay. I'll take a motion. We are ready for a motion, I think.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion that we approve with the standard order of conditions. Do we know anything special, do we?
No, it'd be close the hearing first.
Make a motion that we close the hearing.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is closed.
And then I renew my motion to approve with our standard order of conditions. Unless there's, David, anything you think for special?
No, I can't think of anything.
Motion is from Chris,
Fair.
second from Peter. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. The motion
Thank you.
passes. Thanks.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you with your application. Good luck. Okay, next one, notice of intent.
Do you think in the future, on a project like this, before we get a peer review, that they could come before us, even if it postponed their meeting? Because I wouldn't have voted to have a peer review on this project. And I think,
Okay.
it.
I see
we
David
should have
nodding,
the-
and I'm in agreement with that. I think that makes sense, yeah. This was,
Where did the applicant get the notion to do that?
David asked him to.
David asked him.
Yes,
Which
again,
is,
because-
which is fine. I'm not
No, I
questioning
didn't
your
know.
call.
Yeah.
I'm saying future, before somebody has to come up with that kind of money for a peer review, I think we should all agree that it's needed on something like this.
Yeah,
And I don't think it was.
message received, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I think just something to think about. I mean, supposedly it's going to be raining more and all that climate stuff, and yet we just went through a summer. And there's our data point on what's going to flood in town.
Yeah.
Is this where the beavers were?
No,
No,
just the willow trees.
No, yeah, it was.
Just the willows, were the trees willows?
The beavers ate the willows.
Did we get approval of that? Did you get a motion to approve?
On what?
Did we get as far as approving the motion?
Yeah,
did.
yeah, we voted.
Yeah, we voted.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're ready to move on. We're ready, yep, we're ready to move on. But Bill makes a good point, so.
And I don't want to question you, Dave. I don't want to take that away from you.
Sure.
Because I don't want to second guess you or micromanage your job. But I think going forward, I would feel more comfortable if we had a say in something like this.
With the understanding that for some projects it might be important.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but the bigger ones, it's gonna almost be automatic,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, the next one, notice of intent, this is continuation for 93 Brick Hill Road. This is Richard Kirby, 93, okay, this is 93. So, do we have an applicant online? or-
Yes.
Yes.
Good
okay.
evening.
Hello there.
Hi, Rich Kirby from LEC Environmental, and with me tonight representing the applicant Enders Sarake. Also with me tonight, LEC's senior wildlife biologist Dan Wells. We had filed a notice of intent back in September for the construction of a roughly 48,000 square foot warehouse structure with associated driveway, parking, utilities, site grading. It's on a site, limited industrial site, just shy of 10 acres within the eastern portion of town, immediately south of the UPS hub and customer center. So at the last hearing, we made the project presentation. The stormwater management design has undergone peer review. We just got the stormwater comments, and we look forward to discussing those further with the project engineer on the team at the hearing on November 28th. But tonight we wanted to overview with you the turtle nesting study that the commission hired a peer review for. Scott Smyers and Dan Wells had an opportunity to visit the site in October. Scott prepared an email, and as did Dan, to David, basically overviewing and agreeing that the habitat is very limited. What habitat is there is pretty low quality based on the canopy cover, the vegetation that's there. But Scott also made some recommendations about preparing and providing a turtle nesting mitigation plan that we put together and submitted to the commission. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, and I think Dan can overview the turtle mitigation plan that we propose and its intention to improve turtle habitat on the site compared to existing conditions, even with the proposed development. So take it away, Dan.
All right, thank you, Rich. Am I able to share screen, or
Yeah,
can we?
hold on a second.
You should be okay.
Still disabled.
Still disabled.
How was this discontinued?
Hold on.
Yeah,
Wasn't here for that meeting.
9:26.
I think I'll have to, hold on a second, I'll have to go down.
Yeah, I missed that meeting. I'll have to watch this one.
Technical, hold on.
Dan, it looks like I can share my screen. I don't know if you, I can,
I think
you can talk through it?
Well, looks like I'm able
I
to.
think, yeah, I think they
okay.
just telling me
There you
to,
go. This happened at the exact same time. Go ahead.
All right.
Do we need to
Great,
wait?
thank you. So,
David will be here in a second.
just to reorient you, for those of you, most of you are familiar with this project, but so you can see this is the project location right in here. And as you can see, there's just wetlands all around it, just acres and acres of wetlands. Obviously, there's lots of turtles in those wetlands. If you look at this site, I'll zoom in a little bit, you can see there's a kind of an open grassy area right along the entrance road, but otherwise it's mostly mature forest. There's a little patch of kind of shrubby invasive species regrowth all down in here. So we wanted to provide, whether or not, I think David had noticed some turtle eggs on one of his site inspections. There's no question there's lots of turtles. And so there's an opportunity with this project to provide some kind of dedicated, safe nesting habitat that's away from the road. Where those eggs were seen, I think, were close right in here somewhere. And that's obviously, turtles are right next to a busy road. So road mortality is a huge concern. So this area is where we're proposing to provide some nesting habitat. As you can see, ideally, turtle nesting habitat is very sunny, gets a lot of sun, so southern exposure. This area is generally kind of southwest exposure, which is very, not perfect. Perfect is pure south, but southwest is very good. And this is all devoid of trees, so there's a lot of sun coming in here. So that's kind of the overview, what we're talking about. Now this is on the plan, this is what it looks like. So you can see the limit of work here. It's very close to the wetlands. And then this is the initial build out scenario. And so what we're doing is grading all of these slopes leading down toward the wetland. And this is not this is actually facing southwest. The plan is not oriented north-south. So we're proposing to essentially just dig out all of that soil that presently contains a lot of invasive species. And that'll all come out and we're going to bring in pure sand or close to pure sand, which is ideal substrate for turtle egg laying. And as part of this, you can see this kind of hatched line here. We're going to have a sandy berm kind of at the mid slope. So that's going to kind of anchor all of this sand and further prevent any erosion. Not that this sand would be subject to much erosion, but and also some turtles tend to like nesting on kind of mounds a little bit above the actual surface. So this is going to be all sand, sunny, and a varied topography, and it's going to be easily accessible close to the wetlands so turtles can migrate in and out. There's going to be this line here is a chain link fence, a 4-foot fence, so that's going to keep turtles ideally, well, there would be seamless. There's a wall on this side, so the fence would tie into that. So turtles would not get into once it's all built out, not that they'd probably want to get in there, but this is going to make it so they're going to hit this and they're going to be in the ideal nesting habitat and they're not going to try to migrate across the property. And again, that ties into this wall over here. So part of this creation, so it's going to be pure sand, but we're also going to plant some a bunch grass. It's a native species called little bluestem, which is very common in kind of naturally occurring turtle nesting areas. So we're going to plant some plugs of that to further kind of anchor the slopes, and it provides a little bit of cover for the turtles and especially the hatchlings once they've emerged from the nests. And so on top of that creation, there's also, the plan includes some monitoring. So that's down here on the plan. And so the idea is, and this is based on nesting habitat plans I've done for endangered species, that have been approved by Natural Heritage. So this is modeled after that. And at this project, it's not mapped for endangered species. There are endangered turtles nearby, so there's no reason they couldn't be here. But this is just a general for all turtle species to benefit. And so we're proposing, well, before I get to the monitoring, there's going to be some signage along the edge of it. So, 5 years from now, people working on the site landscaping or whatever don't just dump stuff in here or mow it, damage this area. So the intention is to be clearly indicated, so it should be there in place for the long term. And we're proposing 3 years of kind of monitoring it to make sure invasive species aren't coming in, making sure we're trying to time the monitoring so that we may see some turtle nesting activity, typically June into early July sometimes. And of course, reports each year of monitoring would be provided to the commission. If it seems like something's failing, we'll have recommendations, and the permit holder would be responsible for implementing those. In some cases, if invasive species are well established, we may recommend, hand removal or even chainsaws. I doubt we'd get that in the 3-year period, but even because it's pure sand, we wouldn't expect a lot of invasive species like knotweed or garlic mustard to start coming in. But if that's the case, then we would specify an herbicide treatment. So that's the overview. That's the initial build out, and then we also there's the full build out condition, which may or may not ultimately occur, but if that's the case, there's slightly less space overall for the nesting area, but it's still the same concept. It would be kind of the southwest facing slopes with a sand berm and then chain link fence to keep the turtles out. So that's essentially the plan, if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. David, I know you've taken a look at this. You want to give us some of your
Sure.
thoughts first?
So I just have some minor revisions that I'd like to see. I'll give those to Dan. I've also forwarded this to Scott Smyers at Oxbow for him to review as well. But I think it looks good. My main concern, though, is that I think that the nesting area does undergo a significant reduction in size from the initial build out to the final build out, and I think that is a concern in a number of ways, and not just because it's smaller in size, but if rare species start nesting in it, I think then it becomes a protected area under MESA that Natural Heritage would have to review. Is that your understanding, Dan, as well?
Well, I mean, that depends. If someone reports a rare species, it's technically not mapped, so it would have to be, as they revise their maps every 4 years, I believe, maybe if the mapping changed and then this new phase hadn't been built yet, it's possible it would have to be revisited. I'm not sure. That's kind of a unique situation, but if there's an order of conditions approving it, that may not be the case. So I can't say for sure, but if the commission issued an order right now it's not in rare species habitat, so that if a Blanding's turtle suddenly nested there, it wouldn't necessarily change anything from that perspective.
Well, but the commission could put an order in a condition in the order of conditions that would deal with that sort of situation. And I probably should know the answer to this question, but is the current filing asking the commission to approve both the initial and final build out?
If I could, David, yes, the intention is to get approval for both layouts. Depending on the tenant, I think that, and maybe Ender can speak a little bit more to this, but my understanding is depending on the tenant that leases this site from the applicant, different tenants that lease these warehouses have different site requirements. Some tenants may only require the initial phase, the initial build out without the additional parking and looped roadway. Other tenants may require that depending on their operation. But the intent is to request approval for both.
But that doesn't necessarily mean the commission has to grant approval for both. I mean,
the commission doesn't have to grant approval for anything if they don't want to.
Right.
But I mean, I think the story is that regardless of which phase of build out is actually constructed, given the fact that the habitat there, and your peer reviewer said this, is very limited, and what is there is low quality. The proposed creation of this turtle habitat is a pretty significant improvement, particularly immediately adjacent to the large wetland system. I think that Ender will probably, as we get through the approvals and a tenant is found, hopefully before construction, we'll probably know which build out we're going to be doing. So I think it's unlikely the scenario would arise where we would build the larger nesting area only to then have to remove it. I think the larger nesting habitat area would only be created if a tenant was found that would be satisfied with the initial build out. If a tenant was found with the larger build out, then the smaller nesting habitat would be created, but both are significant improvements over what's there now.
Agreed, but I think what's being proposed for the initial build out is a much greater significant improvement than for the final build out. Just my opinion.
Sure, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure that that larger nesting area is required to offset any impact to turtle habitat that really doesn't exist on the site today. We can talk with the project engineer and see if we can't make the final build out habitat nesting area a little bit bigger. We can always expand the nesting habitat toward the wetland, but then of course we'd be in your 25-foot no disturbance zone. And we're trying to balance preservation of that zone with creating this habitat. However, if the commission is open to allowing us to create that habitat within the 25-foot, we're happy to expand it that way too.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, any other comments?
No.
Dave? Okay, Chris, you have?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of echoing David's kind of comments, concerns. I mean, if there's a way to, and again, I applaud you for coming forward with the turtle nesting area. I think that's really a really good thing. If there was a way to expand it, make it larger, I think that'd be more benefit for us if that happened. But so I think that's good. The other thing I want us to take a close look at is I think I heard some mention of some sort of chemicals that would be used as, for managing kind of some vegetation growth. So I'd be concerned about kind of making sure we had that as limited in scope as possible. Certainly, we don't want to affect the turtles that we might be bringing into the nesting area through some sort of exposure to chemicals that weren't good for them. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman, at this point.
Okay, thanks, Chris. John? Mark?
My concern is most of the plans is the maintenance and how complete they're going to be and how long it's going to be on the site, especially if it goes from a larger building. There's going to be hot top around the building, my understanding, right? So there's going to be chemicals on that. I never get a warm feeling about some of these maintenance plans because it never gets followed up. I'd like to see something a little more concrete than just a plan put on paper, but something that has to be addressed every year. That's all I
Okay.
need for now.
Okay, thanks. Bill?
Yeah, just curious, why was the larger area, turtle area, even proposed if there's a good possibility that you're gonna build this out and do away with it? Why would you even propose that in the beginning?
Well, that's a good question. And again, I think that, Ender, maybe you can speak to this a little bit more, but my understanding is that, you're probably, as you're going into construction and knowing what it is you're going to build, you're probably going to have a tenant or a number of tenants that you're talking to about who's going to lease the space from you. And as you're building, you're going to know what those tenants' requirements are. And if that particular tenant that you have a lease with only requires the smaller build out, again, the warehouse building is the same size. It's the rear parking area and the looped roadway is the difference between the two build outs. Then you don't want to build more than you have to, right? So it's only if you find a tenant that requires the larger build out with the additional parking and looped roadway that you would expand that. Is that right, Ender?
Hi, yeah, you are right, Rich. Actually, our intent to build a smaller parking area, if the planning boards also agree with the phase one.
Okay, so you might need. It sounds like you may need some planning relief in order
because
to
of the
begin.
parking ratio.
Oh, okay, all right.
And
so you need
we
some
don't
relief
believe
from
we
the
need
planning
more
board.
parking space. So our intent to build the phase one, the smaller parking area, and if we able to build the phase one with the less parking area, we will have more nesting area.
Okay. So it sounds like this is somewhat dependent on what the planning board allows. If they give you the relief you're seeking through the planning board process with respect to the parking, the reduced parking area, and they approve that project, then it's your intent to build the smaller footprint.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, and do you know roughly how close you are to getting a decision from the planning board on that particular item?
We will continue the planning board meeting December 13th. We were
Okay.
waiting a stormwater per review.
Okay.
And, yeah, it's ready right now.
All right. So it sounds like we might know a little bit more after the hearing on the in December with the planning board. But obviously, we still want to, move through the commission's concerns. I know that the stormwater peer review just came in, and there may be some plan modifications that Brian, the project engineer, will want to present to you on the 28th. But I think we can look at expanding the nesting area associated with the final build out, if indeed that's what the planning board requires. Maybe including some language that limits any chemical application of herbicides. Again, Dan indicated that given the very sandy soils, it's unlikely that there's only certain plants that like to grow in that. We can also maybe expand on the O&M plan and include some language in there in the project O&M plan that carries with the project, and perhaps some annual reporting to the commission about the O&M plan is something that could be conditioned to ensure that this turtle nesting area remains functional in perpetuity.
Okay. Bill, anything else?
No, I think I just need to see what the planning board has to say about and that will determine more on the size of that turtle area.
Right.
And also, you mentioned going into the 25-foot no disturb towards the wetlands to expand it. Is that something that's makes sense from a turtle point of view, or is it better where it's placed now, away from the wetlands?
Or both.
Or both.
I mean,
If you went with the bigger building, say, and we wanted to see more of an area, could you go closer to the wetlands, and is that feasible? Does it make sense?
the only drawback would be it's flatter as you approach the wetlands, so it might not get as much sun, whereas these are kind of created slopes that have,
Right,
would get more exposure. So
right.
that's, and the vegetation is presumably more native as you're getting, there's probably some invasives right next to the wetland, but, it's certainly more habitat couldn't hurt. I think the less distance the turtles have to go from the wetland, but, going 25 feet isn't, some turtles go hundreds, thousands of feet if there's no nesting habitat. So
Right.
it's not like they can't walk another 25 feet, but
Sure. All right, I think it's going to determine a lot on what the planning board lets you do. So, thank you.
Okay, Bill, thanks. Peter?
Yeah, a bunch of quick questions. Agree with what everybody said. Is there something we can do to work with the planning board? It sounds like this trade-off of parking spaces versus turtle habitat may not be automatically included in the regs of each of our two boards or the policies, but seems like a good idea. So maybe we can talk offline about that. But if that is true, slightly less parking, bigger turtle habitat, be great if the town could get to that point. So just bookmark that. Secondly, on the turtle habitat, I think the couple of different plans look like the sizes of that habitat might be different, but I might have been confused about the full build-out versus partial. So I would encourage the applicant to take a look at the plans and make sure we know the exact size of that habitat. A couple of things, I'm not a turtle person, but they tell me that there's something called one-way turtle gates, which help if a turtle gets lost. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to hope our expert biologist could maybe think about that for the plans. And I do know that turtles are messed up with lighting, and I was unable to actually find the lighting plan. Maybe there is one. I don't know what's required, but I'd like the applicant to show us that the direction of the lights are not shining in a way that would mess up turtles. The herbicide thing we talked about, but this is in our favorite, the Zone 2, groundwater protection zone. I'm not sure where our water department is on that, but herbicide, and for that matter, the snow storage. I think where it was shown on the plan looks like it's gonna drain into the wetlands, which drain into our water supply. So we might think about the snow removal, maybe a different place or some other controls. And then back to the O&M plan, great idea. I think, Mark, you were talking about that. I think the proposal is to monitor this habitat for 3 years, and I would like to see a longer monitoring.
And I've asked Oxbow.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. If you're gonna have to maintain it from invasive plants and whatnot, it has to be every year, not just 3 years. And related to that, I'd like to see, to Mark's point, some definition in the O&M plan about who's gonna do these inspections annually and what's going to be done and how that's going to happen. I mean, obviously, we'd prefer a trained biologist to be brought on to do that annual review.
Well, you could put a condition in there that it requires that the commission hire the biologist at the applicant's expense.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about.
And again, I'm saying all this with an overall caveat. I applaud the applicant for being willing to do this. I mean, it's a great idea. But I think my view is this building clearly was designed to maximize the building site, which is what I would do if I were a builder. But because the building is so big and it is in such a sensitive area, meaning primarily the drinking water and also turtles, I think we need to continue the discussion with the applicant about how to design this thing so it works for everybody.
Okay, thanks. John?
I said this in the beginning. I think we should actually have a better set of plans in front of us, okay, other than this, and know what we're gonna vote on, whether the full build-out or the smaller build-out.
Yeah.
Know before we even go any further. That's my opinion. I mean, I don't see any, the stormwater or any of that, I don't see any real plan here,
Well, this is the environmental impact plan. This isn't the stormwater plan.
okay?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we-
this is just one sheet of a whole set that
okay,
has
but
all that
for us
detail
to
you're
vote
looking
on
for.
something,
Yeah, we're not, we know we're gonna continue, because
okay,
we have stormwater still to go, and,
okay,
Yeah, we're not voting
Yeah.
tonight.
yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
yeah, sorry. Should have made that
I'd
clear.
like to know what we're voting, when it comes,
This is,
whether it's the full
Yeah.
or not.
right, yeah, I
That's
think
my
that makes
opinion.
sense.
Yeah,
And be prepared for that.
and John, I agree with that, because some of these projects, I'm wishing I had the full-sized drawings. I mean, I'm sure we can all go to our computers, but, we might want to talk about that.
We can all go to work.
Oh, yeah, right. But I don't. I mean, I can't read it on this little
No,
screen.
can't read
I'm
it.
feeling a little slighted there.
Well,
If any of the commission members want full-size copies of the plan set that we have been submitting to David, we submitted a set with the notice of intent. The project engineer submitted a revised set. We're happy to provide full sets to whichever commission members would like them.
Or you can go see David,
Or we can go see David.
yeah, which,
I mean, we don't need to make it harder for the applicant.
You were talking about snow and everything and
Yeah.
all that.
well,
Right.
should I bring a plan set at full scale to the meeting?
I think it would help.
Yeah, it would
We
help.
can reference it when we need to.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be good.
yeah, I think
That'd be
that,
great.
that would be great.
yeah, these drawings are actually good, but they're hard to look. I'm looking on my computer, and it's just really hard, very difficult to see on the screen here. So, yeah, I think that's a good point, yeah.
All right, and of course, we welcome the commission's support with respect to the planning board in their deliberation about the number of parking spaces required for this development. So any sort of cross pollination that can happen there between David and perhaps the planner, we fully support and welcome.
I think, to me, what's important is they recognize that there is a trade-off, but they have to make their decision, and we have to make our decision,
Yeah,
so.
oh, yes.
Well, I'll certainly make sure that these plans are forwarded to the board.
Okay.
Can we be a little bit more direct and just point out that this came up?
Yeah.
And it would be a interesting trade-off to consider. Maybe leave it at that?
Sure.
And of course, they're usually here with us, just for the
Chris,
applicant.
yeah, we
The
have
planning
a-
board usually sends a rep here. I think they have a conflicting meeting tonight.
Yep.
Carl, we've got Dave McLaughlin. Looks like he's out on the Zoom call, so I don't know if Dave's able to speak, but he is out there.
Thanks. Dave, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, yeah. Can you, do you have any questions you have for the?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry I had to leave.
No problem.
On this plan, there's a big discussion about wildlife. Who was I missed it. Who was the expert that wrote the wildlife plan?
This is me, Dan Wells. I'm with LEC Environmental.
Were you given a statement of work, or did you just come up with the plan on your own?
Well, I was, the commission retained Scott Myers from Oxbow Associates with the intention of meeting me out there we both have probably 20 years each experience dealing with turtles and nesting habitats. So we met there together and collectively, it was not his job to design it. So I proposed the location and sent a concept to Scott and David Kuntz for their input, and Scott Smyers kind of affirmed that it made sense. It was a good plan, and he provided some comments which were then incorporated into it. What you're seeing.
Very good. When you guys were on the site, were you able to identify where the blanding turtles have been observed?
Well, there's in October, any turtles are going to be in the water. So I know of personally, that was my first time on the property. I know of the site is not mapped by the Natural Heritage Program.
You should be aware. There's a budding property or close to it, which is the French Cemetery, which is probably northwest of where you are. You guys know there's a French cemetery that's on River Neck Road, and also it butts Canal Street. National Heritage has identified 2 sightings of Blanding's turtles on that cemetery within the last 3 years. All right. Now, in addition to that, I just want to give some general information. I was participating in a meeting with Zoo New England this afternoon, who in part of the meeting was to review what they've been working on for the last year. They've done extensive work on identifying turtle locations in eastern Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire. They've spent the last 3 years in Chelmsford on the River Neck Road side identifying significant turtle populations. Now, granted, that may be far enough away from your site. I don't know. But it's an extensive turtle habitat. In fact, it was significant on that 201 River Neck Road hearing that we had, a year ago. So I want to make sure that we've identified the appropriate habitat and we're providing for the necessary and correct habitat. Having said that, if you guys do it right, and I'm not telling you how to do it, I might be of a mind to waive the 25-foot no disturbance if it protects more wildlife habitat. That's all I had, Carl.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Chris, for letting me know. Okay. I think we've gone through. We do have some public input.
Public input.
That, do you want to come up and talk? We have one of our, let's say one of our regulars.
Hi.
Ruth Luna, 10 Carter Drive. I didn't bring my letter with me because I wasn't sure how long I was going to last. So I'll try to, you've already said a lot of the points, but.
So I'll just preface, we do have a letter from Ruth.
Which I have forwarded to the.
And, okay, the letter has been forwarded to the applicant. Thank you, David.
Okay, so I'm just going from memory. I agree that I don't like how in the full build-out, how the nesting area is shrunk back like that. And what I find particularly troubling is that it's lopped off the part that would be most likely used as far as that more south-facing, and it's then changed the grading on what little part is there as far as what is in the initial phase is more, I think, conducive as far as how it's sloping there than how it is in the final build-out. So I think that if you're going to cut back somewhere, I would cut back on the northern side, not on the southern side, if that really needed to be done. But I would rather see it larger than smaller. And turtles are willing to travel a distance. It's not like it has to be right at the water's edge. The turtles we've done have traveled quite a distance for nesting, and Blanding's turtles are known to travel even up to a mile. So because we do have the mapped habitat for the wood turtle also includes Blandings that we had on radio there as well. And then I had mentioned then the turtle gates that previously had been part of a conservation management permit issued by Heritage on that wood turtle habitat area, that it would be if the turtle's on the wrong side of the fence, that it can get out of the area that it shouldn't be in, but it can't get in there. And then the lighting was that we noticed that was because we had reported to Heritage. We were observing with hatchlings when they were emerging, they are drawn to light and they're going to go to that. And so we don't want them drawn into a parking lot. And I had some comments as far as the timing on use of removing vegetation or on the herbicide. And so I'm glad that was picked up onto. And the snow storage, in the initial build out, there are two areas that are right up against retaining wall and guardrail, and but then it drops down to pretty close to the wetlands, and it doesn't seem realistic to think that your snow is going to stay there and not just end up getting dumped over the edge. And then in the full build out, their largest snow storage area is within the aquifer protection area, the zone 2. And it seems like you've got enough places on your site that you shouldn't have your snow storage being in the zone 2. So that larger area should get moved elsewhere. And then also that I'm glad to hear that you're wanting something long-term on the monitoring of it. And I would also want you to have that the commission would have authority to go out there too, as well, to be checking on it. That not just somebody, and that as to who is paying for all of that. But yeah, because if you're wanting to keep it not vegetated over 50%, you're going to have to stay on top of that to make sure over time it doesn't get too vegetated. But I appreciate I am glad to see that there is something being put there, given the reports that have been there for Blandings. And I'm glad that you're all following up on it, so thanks.
Thank you for your input. Thank you. So thanks, everyone, for the discussion, the presentation. We have stormwater in front of us. I think you got the peer review today, I think, or yes?
Actually, Friday when I wasn't here, so okay. I saw it yesterday.
Okay.
First time. So, yeah, that's going to be on the 28th.
Okay. So that will be on the 28th, so in 2 weeks. But meanwhile, I think there is a good point that when we end up voting, at the point we vote, we should be knowing what we're voting on. So I'm not quite sure how we dial that in.
Well, it sounds like a good part of that will be dependent on the planning board's decision. So Rich, when are they meeting to talk about this? Yeah.
I think Ender indicated the next planning board hearing was mid-December. Was it the 16th of December, Ender?
13th, I think.
13th?
13th.
13th. And will the planning board be talking about the parking spaces at that hearing in particular?
I am not sure. We were waiting the stormwater peer review, but probably we are gonna talk about the parking as well.
All right.
Right,
Well,
and we don't-
maybe,
We don't have any
continue
meetings after
hearing
that
to the-
until January.
Oh, sorry.
Right. I'll see if I can get some clarification on that. Because I mean, if that's what the larger versus the smaller turtle nesting area is dependent upon, I think that's it's a very important issue.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have an answer by the 28th, if they know where they're gonna go, but I don't know if that's gonna be the case.
We won't if the planning board meeting is on December 13th.
Right. Yeah, and again, we don't meet again after that until January.
Right.
So no hearings in December then for the Conservation
We
Commission?
have one the night before on the 13th.
On the 12th.
Oh, the 12th.
On the 12th?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess I'm presuming we're not gonna meet on the 26th of December.
I won't be here.
I'm pretty sure. So.
All right, well,
just-
why don't we continue, if we could, to the 28th, and if we have something to report and it makes sense for us to appear before the commission to talk about some of the stormwater comments or our approach to addressing those comments. I haven't had a chance to review that yet. I know Brian hasn't had a chance to review it yet, the project engineer. So maybe if we continue to the 28th, if it makes sense for us to come, obviously we don't want to waste anyone's time. And if it doesn't make sense, we'll continue to the December or January hearing.
Sounds good. I think that makes sense. Agree, David?
In the meantime, Rich and Dan, I'll just give you my, what I'd like to see for revisions. They're very minor, and I'll let you know any additional comments Scott Smyers has.
Okay, that'd be great. And do we have a date for the first hearing in January?
It'll be the first Tuesday.
Second. Oh, no.
I'm sorry, the second.
Second
the second
Tuesday, so it looks like it'd be the 9th, January
The
9th.
9th, okay. All right, great. Thanks for the constructive feedback. We'll see what we can do about incorporating your comments, and David, we'll look forward to receiving some additional minor comments from you and Scott.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, let's keep moving here.
We have to make a,
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
make
I'm
a
sorry, we
motion
gotta
that
make a
we
m-
continue this
Thank you.
hearing until November 28th.
November 28th. Motion from Chris, second from Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Dave, are you still there? Do you want to raise your hand, Dave?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. Okay.
Aye.
All right. Okay, motion passes.
Unanimous. Very
Unanimous.
good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thanks.
night.
Thank you.
Thanks for catching me on that, Chris. Trying to move us along here. So, next one is notice of intent for 10 Hildreth Street. And we have some
So I forwarded you the email from Mr.
Late
Cowell.
breaking news.
Pursuant to my conversation with him this afternoon, at which point I thought they were coming in to make a presentation, but I guess based on what I told them, they decided to put it off a while longer until they've had more time to review Natural Heritage's comments and to incorporate those in the plan. This is an example where I have obtained a proposal from Oxbow Associates for the commission to do its own study, or have Oxbow do its own study. So that is an example where I do want the commission to take a
Okay.
vote on that. So that I'm planning to have the commission do that as well. Next hearing.
But in the meantime, they're asking it for it to be continued.
Right,
And so
to the first meeting in January.
to the January 9th, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The Natural Heritage letter that just came out, among other things, says that the applicant shouldn't be doing anything to the site.
Right.
While they, I guess, further review it, if I said that
That's
correctly, I
standard.
read it quickly.
That's standard language.
How does that affect our hearing? Not the natural heritage, but the instruction to do nothing?
Well, it's conceivable, say, if the commission did issue an order of conditions approving the project, and prior to natural heritage granting its full approval or its final decision, then they still couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything
Okay.
on the site.
Would we consider, I mean, just hypothetically, would we consider issuing an order before? Because we got the natural heritage, I mean, kind of what we decide depends a little bit on natural heritage input and also that whole flood compensatory storage under the power line.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to understand, are we going to be in a position of trying to make a decision before those two other permit authorities have weighed in?
I think it's, number one, I think that's a sort of a policy decision. Say,
Right.
does the commission want to keep the hearing open until some resolution is made on, or something is heard from National Grid on the proposal to do the compensatory flood storage area there? So then I think that's a policy decision, and, I don't want to really predict what Natural Heritage is going to say or what their time frame is going to be.
I think both of those things are potentially big enough issues that I would not want to approve something contingent upon their approval.
Yeah, I think you're right on, Dave.
Okay. And then just as a sidebar, I'm curious how the natural heritage recent letter affects the scope of work for the wildlife survey.
It doesn't necessarily have to affect it at all.
Okay. Will those two mesh, that there won't be a surprise at the end?
I don't think so. The only thing I will say is that Natural Heritage is not requiring a visual survey.
Right.
Which is what the Oxbow proposal
Yeah, I
does
caught that.
include.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I'm
so,
surprised that Natural Heritage responded as quickly as they did.
well,
New administration.
I'm sorry, Carl.
yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, so,
I have to learn how to use Zoom. I'm sorry.
so we voted to continue, no, not yet. We need to vote to continue to, I think you said January 9th, to the first one in January.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Movement by Chris, second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dave?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
unanimous. We hear you. Aye, aye. The motion passed. We hear you. Okay, thank you. Now we have discussion. So we have 3 assignments, actually 4 if you count one of them as 2, that we are being asked to provide representation for. 2 members to the Open Space and Rec Plan Committee, 1 to the Coulis Land Use Committee, and 1 to the Strategic Implementation Committee, which is the Select Board sponsored project that they're looking for. So I'm open to, I know Peter has expressed interest in both the open space and the strategic. I think you've expressed that interest.
Yeah, and I'd just like to comment, I think those two are pretty important to our goals. It's a lot of work and a lot of time, but it seems like it's very important, both of those.
What, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
what is the Selectmen's one? What is the
So-
Selectmen's Committee doing? What's their charter?
Yeah, I can't speak exactly about it, but I do know that at town meeting, there was money voted for having a consultant firm come in to help frame up a strategic plan for the town that would be, I honestly can't say exactly how different it is from like the master plan, what the specific details are there. But it is different, and so they're looking to develop this. There are other towns in the state that have done this, and so we're a little bit on the leading edge of that, following some of them, but there's not all that many from what I can tell. I'm sorry, but that's as much as I know.
Yeah, and Dave, I know just a tiny, tiny bit more, not much, but the idea is to sort of figure out what the town wants to be when it grows up. Those are my words, not the select board's.
So, they're asking for a rep from conservation.
Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I cannot be on any of those committees.
Okay, thanks. So, anyone else have interest on any of these? Okay. So I'm looking for, I don't know if we have to vote to designate this or just, we've got a volunteer for two of them for open space. I'm willing to participate on the open space as well if we have two slots. I wasn't aware that there were two, but it's saying two. That makes sense, though. It's heavy on open space, so I'm certainly willing to be on that as well.
And David, I know you've got a day job. Do you get involved in these things by default, or?
Yeah, I haven't been told anything about the Strategic Implementation Committee, but on the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee and the Coolest Land Use Committee, I'm told I'm one of, if not maybe the only staff contact for Coolest Land, I guess.
I mean, I know you have a lot to do, but you also know a lot more about these plans than.
I have a lot of experience with open space and recreation plans, and actually, it's NIMCOG that's doing most of the heavy lifting on that.
Yeah, we're
So-
letting them take the lead, so.
Right, I think with regard to the participation by the CC members, I think it's mainly going to be the action plan. You know, what does the commission want to see accomplished over the next 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'd have to go to all the meetings, but your input would be great.
And guidance, yeah. Mark?
Why are they asking, they just spent $4.1 million for a parcel of land.
4.16.
Now they're asking how we should use it?
Yeah.
Shouldn't they ask that before we buy it?
We don't have the time to do that. That's not the way it works. We bought it for open space. We can now determine exactly how that will be used. There's not a lot of options. Trails, some agriculture.
It just seems backwards. Maybe it's me.
It does, but then
But Mark, that's the way that's the way it always is, Mark. That's what it was with the Warren Poe property.
Yep.
I mean, the problem is the family wants to sell it, right? So we can't take a year to figure out what to do with it. I think is the logic.
Well, we're not going to take a year to figure it out either. I think the coolest land use should be like 3 months or something.
The Warren Poe property seemed like a no-brainer for the price. This was way out of the line, so that's maybe what I have a problem with. Why we paid so much for something that doesn't have
That's a
that kind of
different
value.
issue. Yeah, but that's
Right.
a different issue. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
That's why I have a hard time
Yep.
trying to.
I mean, honestly, what can the coolest property be used for other than conservation?
Passive
Yeah.
recreation.
Or active recreation.
Yeah, you could have some kind
Yeah,
of,
well-
you could in theory have pickleball courts, you could have
Tennis courts.
basketball courts or something like that.
Lease it to the neighborhood.
Right. We can spend another $2 million. We can put a school there.
Nope, not on
Right.
open space, but
What?
unless we go back to town and vote to change it for the use, although you can't then use the CPA funding. So it's somewhat
So who are
limited.
what other organizations are going to be on the coolest committee?
The Agricultural Commission and and COS has been asked, and then and us, and then open members of the public. I think that's it.
So it's not likely to be anything other than agriculture or conservation.
I would agree. Yeah.
And we know what John gave us some input on whether or not it could be used for agriculture, I think. But anyhow, that's
you could.
I'm just trying to understand if it's going to end up. I wouldn't want it to be a big peeing contest over who wants the property, that's all. So if that's who's gonna be on the subcommittee,
Yep.
that should go pretty straightforward.
It's, yeah, again, I think it's somewhat limited in what you can do with it, so I don't think it's, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
You never know, you never know.
And of
so,
course, it requires a conservation restriction.
Yeah, once the decision is made, then you take the steps to develop the conservation restriction, because that follows from what we determined
Well,
for the purpose.
doesn't it need a CR no matter what?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
but
right.
you don't want to
It's
start
just-
it till you've
just-
said, this is what we're gonna do.
No, I know what you're gonna, no, right, but, I mean, if somebody wanted to put a baseball field there, it still would need a CR.
That's right, that's right.
Yep,
Yeah, right.
So you'd have to find an organization willing to hold a CR under those terms and conditions.
Right.
okay, so, I think I hear for open space, Peter and I would do that. I'm not hearing anyone else raising their hand, so I'm okay with that. And Peter for the strategic plan for that. And
I
you're,
need a computer
for what?
for that, for the coolest.
I don't think so. I think it should be in-person meetings, I would think. That's what my recommendation would be. It shouldn't be a whole lot of meetings.
Bring your wife, John. Bring your wife, John.
I don't want to go there.
But you're interested.
Yeah, I'm.
Yeah.
sorta
Because of
interested. I
agricultural?
mean,
Well, are you representing Concom or agriculture?
Well, there again, I think Agricultural Commission, Henry will probably go on that,
Okay.
okay? And,
I take it each member has one vote. So if we had two members, we'd have two votes?
I guess. I mean, it all depends on how Paul wants to construct the team. I think it's looking for like 7 people. So 3 reps from the town and then 4 from the public, something like that.
I mean, John, I think you'd be a great asset on that, honestly, with your background.
And you get a tractor, you can help clear the property.
that, my tractor's not big enough for that property.
Okay, so you're raising your hand.
Well, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, all right,
I just don't want to get opinionated
okay,
on what I think,
okay. All right,
like Mark.
I will let Paul know. And we can.
John, it's appreciated by me that you're doing it. Thank you.
I appreciate it too, yep. Okay, updates on, thank you very much. So updates on 0 Littleton Road.
Yes, it finally at long last received an RDA on that one, an after the fact filing. So that's scheduled to be heard on the 28th. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
On 35 Brick Hill. What's that, Dave?
Remind me that 0 Littleton Road is across from Enterprise?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Beaverbrook,
Beaverbrook,
okay, yep. I wish they get him a legitimate street number, will you?
It's not a
Okay.
building.
Well, and I found out that
No,
it's- there's not even supposed to be a 0 there.
Yeah.
On the assessor's database, it's just Littleton Road. So,
Just how it's our nomenclature.
right, it makes it real
Our
easy to
little-
do a search on
Yeah,
it.
well, we gotta know, right, we gotta know where it is.
Okay.
So on 35 Brick Kiln Road, I guess the issue there is allegedly they're really short of money. They don't have the money to pursue the restoration or what that part of what was required in the enforcement order. I have asked the wetland consultant that they've spoken to, whom they actually haven't hired yet, see whether they have $50 to file the RDA. So waiting to hear on that.
That's
Okay.
gonna move rather slowly, I would guess.
Well, they need that lifted to do business on the site, don't they?
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, they are doing business within, in compliance with zoning. I'll talk to the the building inspector, again, I know he just sent out a bunch of violation letters yesterday. I don't.
To them?
No, I don't know if
Oh,
this one
oh,
was included.
oh,
I
okay.
plan to ask.
Blanket, but to different sites.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Well, this is the site where we try to facilitate the town working together between different departments, if you will.
Yep.
And
Yep.
sounds like we need to continue that.
Yeah, I don't know how much other town departments are involved at this point.
Yeah, you said just the inspector.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
they actually, last I looked at it, they had done a pretty good job of cleaning up the property. So that part of it, I think, is just about there. It's a matter now of filing the RDA to do the work they originally should have filed for, and then to do the restoration of the wetlands and the 25-foot no disturb. So
I forgot, did we issue an order?
an enforcement
already?
order, yes. Yes.
Okay, something to think about.
Is the container still there?
I mean,
That's on 0 Littleton Road.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, that's still there, and that's in the RDA. But on 35 Brick Kiln Road,
Oh,
so, I mean,
it's the restoration that's the most important now.
right,
Right.
right. So I don't, I just keep trying to work with them. Maybe at some point they'll want to do something, like they'll apply for a building permit where, the town will have some leverage, or more than it has now.
There's no leverage that flows from the enforcement order?
Oh, there is, yeah. I mean, certainly the commission could take them to court and fine them.
We're not ready for that.
If you want to go that route.
Not yet.
And we know they don't have any money.
We know we think they claim that, but.
Right.
Yes.
They may not be as poor as they say, but then again, they may not.
It would be nice, though, if they would file the RDA and at least show
Yes.
good faith effort
Right.
that they're moving forward,
Yes.
and that's $50, come on.
So I'll keep pressing for that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Land management updates. The Warren Poll CR, I think I saw the email. Dave, you sent it to Chris Alphin?
Yes.
Okay.
What I sent him an email that said we're all set to go. You finalize what
Yep.
you have to do. We'd like to be able to submit it to the state around the beginning of the new year. Kyle has to get the approval of the Conservation Commission. You guys saw an earlier draft. The final one won't be that different. And we still need a nod, at least, from the land trust that they're involved in this. And I think we should go to the selectmen and say, this is what we think is in the best interest of the town. We haven't heard from the land trust. We'll give them a time certain to sign it. If they don't, we'll have to find somebody else.
Yeah, well, they don't have to sign it till it comes back from the state, but yeah,
No,
yeah,
but we right.
yeah, okay.
But I think Alphin replied, didn't he? I think he
Okay,
replied to.
we'll figure that out.
Yeah, he said he was going to send. He said he was going to send the final draft, the one that all three of us signed off on. He was going to send that to their council.
To Mullen, yeah, Mr. Mullen, Attorney Mullen. Okay, and
Mullen,
then,
Mullen, yep.
we did have the opening for the site on November 3rd. It was well attended. We had a good crew there, and a lot of Warrens and Poles were there, so it was a good event. We have botany reviews coming in. I think you said Matt is getting them in maybe this week.
Said he was planning to get the draft reports for both reservations by the end of this week. Maybe beginning of next week.
Okay, good. The other thing, I had a couple more things to add here in the land management. Cranberry Bog. Dave, do you remember, we're working with DPW on expanding the parking area by 3 spaces, as you and I have talked a little bit about, that it's pretty straightforward, but were there any agreements or anything like that with neighbors on the number of spaces or anything like that? I would think that more spaces is better.
I don't think there were. I owe you something on that, Carl, and I'm sorry I haven't got to it. I've got all the plans that we prepared for that parking lot, and I believe at the time we sent a letter to Meredith Kent saying this is what we're going to do, because as some of you will remember, I think Billy probably, and Kyle, you, Chris, you do. there was a protracted discussion that got somewhat heated between Ms. Kent and the Conservation Commission. But I don't think we specifically said there was going to be any increase. We may have said there is room for it. But I'll dig it out, Carl. I'm sorry. I told you I would, and I just haven't done it.
Okay, thanks. I can't understand why there would be any issue with that. I mean, having more spaces means less people on the street when you have an overflow.
Right.
So, to me,
that's what happens on some Sundays. That lot gets overflown.
I was there 2 Fridays ago in the morning, and it was full. So.
Yep.
Okay. And Thanksgiving Forest, COS is hosting their day before Thanksgiving walk next Wednesday at 2:00.
Did they ask us for permission?
I've traded emails with Phil. He's told me he's planning to do this. I don't know. Are they supposed to ask permission?
I mean, no, I would know, but I would think that would be the polite thing to do.
Okay.
Because also he has to get a fire permit, and we need to make sure he does.
There is one. There's a fire permit. I've seen it.
Okay, good. Okay, because in the past we've always got it.
Yep.
I just think it's polite for him to ask permission.
Yep.
Maybe I'm being a stick in the mud, but
no, not you, Dave. Come on. COS is also doing the decorated tree scavenger hunt over the 20 sites in town, which is many of our sites and some other sites as well. So that's happening as well.
That's a great project.
Yeah, there's gets a lot of people out onto the sites, families, and doing collecting all that. And then the Freeman's Lake, next thing is in the agent's report, Freeman's Lake assessment. So anything you want to share on that?
Just the public input session is December 5th, next door, the room next door. If anyone wants to come and provide their 2 cents worth, certainly welcome.
Okay.
A question. How is that being advertised? Just through the town website as another public meeting?
But also the residents living around the lake will be notified.
Wanda knows it's coming, right? Wanda Dunn?
Yeah.
Good. And are you doing that, or how? Or is that, I've forgotten, or is our consultant doing that?
DPW is doing that. Stormwater's doing that.
That's right, we talked about that.
DPW is doing it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're doing a lot.
Good.
For this.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, meeting minutes.
And my apologies for not printing out anything, but it's been a nonstop battle with the printer ever since I've gotten this new laptop.
So
apologies for that.
I would say we table it for tonight then. I'm okay with that. It's October 10th. It's the first 2 we already did. The
Right.
September ones we've already done. So it's October 10th, the 17th, which was our site visit to Beaver Brook, and then the 24th, which
think
was
we
our
have the
most
24th.
recent meeting before this. Okay, so it's actually.
You want to take a vote on it?
No, we didn't get a printout here,
they're
Dave,
fine.
so
Okay.
we'd
They're
rather have the
fine by
printouts. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yep.
So we'll do it, we'll make sure we get to it next time. So I'll take a motion, unless there's any further business, anything else anyone wants to cover?
Yeah, are we having a Christmas party?
Oh, that is really important. I don't know. Why don't we close the meeting and then have that, yeah, we can do that, have that conversation. Mark, did you have something
Let's
else?
just go someplace
I
after
just had a
after
question
the
for David.
December meeting.
Did you hear anything about the substation on Chelmsford Street? Did National Grid say anything to you about that?
No.
Remember I asked you about the next to Dunkin' Donuts, that they're tearing it down?
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
I was just notified of some maintenance work, some routine maintenance
Are they
work.
doing any cleanup there, or the?
I don't
Well,
think that was it.
That's within
Well, I
100
would
feet.
think,
It's
because
within
it's an
100 feet
old
of the well.
substation, and they had PCBs in the
Right.
oils,
Oh, jeez, wow.
right?
And it's
Yeah.
within 100 feet of the wetlands, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about what was in the transformers.
Well, yeah, but it could end up in the
Yeah.
wetland or wherever, yeah.
I'm sorry, Mark, what was the address again?
Oh, God, next to Dunkin' Donuts, if that means anything to you. I don't know the number. I know Dunkin' Donuts.
Which,
Across,
They know
across,
you too, Bud.
across,
which one?
across the street from Ampet,
Yeah,
right?
if that helps.
Across the street
It's right
from
near
what?
495, right at the 110,
From
495.
the get,
Oh, okay. Well,
across from the 110 Grill, right?
if Mr. Cole from National Grid is going to be here with a certificate of compliance,
Can ask her.
certainly something can ask.
Maybe give him a heads up.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good question. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Why give him a head? So move.
Move from Dave
Oh,
to
you're being a
adjourn.
stick in the mud.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Meeting adjourned. Thanks. Now, let's